Hey everyone, and welcome to the Decks of the Week, the weekly series where I showcase the top 10 best decks in Marvel Snap. Except this week we're doing 11, because War Machine, the most recent release, does not crack the top 10, and I know you're looking to get those weekend missions done, so we do a bonus deck featuring War Machine. Now the current highest win rate version of War Machine is going to be a 52% win rate Black Knight deck, which is really damning for the card, because we're going to be talking about a Black Knight deck later that wildly outperforms this, which is unfortunate. I think that unfortunately War Machine is underperforming expectations. This was a card that was expected to shake up the meta quite a bit and ultimately has not done that. Although it's still early, unfortunately for War Machine, it has not quite, had a major splash in the meta like was anticipated, but hey, time will tell if we can kind of unlock the puzzle that is War Machine. So currently a 52% win rate deck. This will help you get through the weekend missions. As we move into our top 10, and it starts with Toxic Sarah. This is a really interesting deck. I really like its design. However, you're going to notice a 0.19 cube rate. That, in my opinion, is far too low to reliably rank up and to take into Conquest. What's interesting about this deck is that it had this major surge with Thanos really taking off. And then post the Mind Stone nerf and some of the changes to Thanos, including the Psylocke change, Thanos has dropped off ever so slightly. And the result is that the cube rate of this deck has dropped off as well. This deck has a very favorable matchup against Thanos because naturally Thanos goes very wide with all the stones and Hazmat loves that. But that doesn't perform as well against some other decks. So the result is that this is not a great meta deck from the standpoint as it just has a couple favorable matchups and the rest are kind of poor. So ultimately, if Thanos is really hot, this deck will be really hot. If Thanos starts to wane in popularity, this deck will lose its luster. So anyways, I really like the list, but it's currently not performing as you might want. There's going to be better decks out there to rank up on this top 10, but it does round out the top 10 regardless from a win rate perspective. We go to Patriot Surfer. Surfer's making a bit of a comeback here, and as I discussed during the X-Men event, I love Surfer, and it's kind of cool seeing the Absorbing Man Brood-style Patriot deck kind of make a comeback. Nothing fancy here. What you'll notice, though, it does feature Mockingbird, which is great. This is exactly where we want Mockingbird to be. It kind of was unfortunate that Mockingbird really leveled up Thanos, where it could have been used to level up Patriot and Zoo and other archetypes, right? So I like to see Patriot in these style lists, and ultimately it's doing really well. A 0.25 cube rate, which is fair, and a decent win rate at 54%. And all these stats are post-infinite, of course. That takes us to number 8. Number 8 is Destroy. Now, what you'll notice about Destroy is that the win rate has come down pretty significantly. We're seeing a lot more armor and kind of response to the number of Destroy matches we're seeing on the ladder. By far one of the most popular decks out there right now. You're seeing Destroy everywhere, but the cube rate remains very high at 34. So lower kind of win rate, but it's still an excellent cube rate, capable of winning Conquest, capable of ranking up, getting to Infinite, whatever it is you're seeking to do. The deck has not seen much change. However, it is now running Alioth. Alioth is a major shift up here. You don't often see Alioth in these decks, but now it's sneaking back in. A pretty interesting change there. So ultimately, really like the list. Destroy continues to be a meta shaker, and this is currently the newest version with the highest cube rate that's making rounds in the meta. Destroy at number 8. We go to number 7. We have the aforementioned Black Knight deck outperforming the other. The other one with War Machine had 52% win rate. This one here has a 55% win rate, though the cube rate is not all that impressive at 0.24. It's fair, but not great. Black Knight's one of those archetypes that unfortunately has fallen off ever so slightly. It's doing well in the competitive scene. That's great to see. It also, of course, features Hela. This is a good deck. It's a good deck, but I think that people are getting relatively used to the play pattern. It has a very straightforward retreat signal, and so that's why I think that from a cube rate perspective, you're not like catching people by surprise for 8 cubes unless you're using Hela, ironically. Hela tends to steal the cubes in this deck. It's not the Black Knight that tends to do it because they know that indestructible Ebony Blade's coming down, and so they often retreat in advance of it. So overall, a good deck, 7th on our list, 55% win rate. Black Knight's still pretty damn good. Now, a new riser here, and you know I love myself some Beta Ray Bill. Beta Ray Bill coming in at a 55% win rate in the Asgardian package, and a great cube rate of 0.32. A very strong deck. I love the addition of Shadow King. Shadow King is a destroy killer in this meta, and you're seeing a lot of Destroy, and Shadow King makes short work of Deadpools, of Venoms, of pretty much everything that Destroy does, right? So pretty damn good deck. I really like it. The addition of Mobius and Mobius helps to kind of get rid of those pesky Mockingbirds and even the occasional Loki matchup, which you are seeing from time to time, although it does not crack this top 10. Really like this deck. It's one that's worth checking out. As we move into number 5, and as we move into number 5, it is the Guardians of the Galaxy. If you're not subscribed, consider hitting the subscribe button, by the way, because over half the people that watch these videos are not subscribed. I would greatly appreciate your support. Just like the support that was received from the Guardians of the Galaxy in the most recent patch, or OTA, I should say, going with 55% win rate and a pretty damn solid cube rate of 33. It's a good deck, honestly, and Rocket Raccoon puts up points, Star-Lord puts up points, Nebula baits the play into them to allow them to get those points popped off, and of course you have the Storm Control and the Doctor Doom with the top off of Alioth if you're able to lock down the locations effectively. Storm, kind of risky to play with War Machine still being tested, but War Machine's play rate is dropping rather rapidly, so Storm is becoming a little more of a common play. Naturally, you have the Zabu base package of Shang-Chi, Miss Marvel, and Iron Lad, which seems to be a 4-base package that you're seeing pretty much everywhere. Ultimately, Guardians of the Galaxy is back. It's missing Gamora here, but I gotta tell you, it's a damn good deck. It's good to see Guardians of the Galaxy making some rounds here. As we go into a good old deck that we've seen over the last couple weeks, and it's Heli Discard. Heli Discard, not the current top performing discard shell. We got one a little higher, well, way higher, but it's still a good deck. I like the Collector Helicarrier kind of combination here. A good Conquest performer because Helicarrier provides some like uncertainty for your opponent, although it also provides some uncertainty for Dracula. That's a whole other conversation. Really like this deck a lot. It currently is performing at a 56% win rate, but you'll note that its cube rate is starting to drift down. A 29 cube rate is a little lower than even some of the decks we just talked about, including the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is kind of interesting. Good win rate, lower cube rate, but still overall a good deck in Helicarrier Discard. As we move on to number 3, and this is a surprise, it is actually Silver Surfer. Now, this deck in particular has a pretty low play rate. It's a new emerging deck, so the statistics can vary quite rapidly as more players start to play it, as well I release a video like this. But honestly, you'll love to see it. You have not seen a Killmonger, Nova, Sebastian Shaw based list in a damn long time. And it's kind of funny because this has kind of always been the Sebastian Shaw auto deck, right? Okoye, Nakia, and apparently it's kind of back and it's performing really well. And it's a great cube rate of 0.39, a great win rate of 57%. This was a surprise, and I double checked. I even cross checked on other kind of statistics aggregators, and yeah, this deck's performing way better than I think anyone expected, including myself. So it's good to see Silver Surfer, specifically Sebastian Shaw, back in a relevant position. As we go to number 2, which is, surprise, surprise, is Thanos. Thanos has come down a little bit, but it's still a prominent player in the meta. 40 cube rate in a 57% win rate. Still an absolutely remarkable deck. This is currently the highest win rate edition of Thanos. So there's a couple of different versions. Currently running the Mobius and Mobius in order to kind of counteract both the Sarah Miracle, which is so, Sarah Toxic, I should say, which is not kind of a good matchup for Thanos. Moreover, it counters your opposing Mockingbirds in the mirror match, which is why the Mobius is so essential. But overall, regardless of the nerf to Psylocke, the Time Stone, the Mind Stone, and everything else, Thanos continues to be a top performer in the meta. And that takes us to number 1, and surprise, surprise, it's Discard. A lot of people have been talking about Discard here being an absolute top performer. It's the Corvus Glaive, Dakin, and the Apocalypse Shell that's taking it to the top. A 60% win rate and a 0.35 cube rate. It's the top performing shell in Marvel Snap right now, which should surprise nobody. It recently got nerfed by 2 points via Apocalypse, but it's still a great performer overall. And hey, you know what? I gotta be honest with you. I love this card. I like seeing it at the top, at least for a little bit longer. I know that some of you in the comments might be sick of it, but ultimately, hey, it's better than just seeing Thanos all the time. So at least we're getting a little more variety with the balance changes that have been occurring, but I expect some more balance changes coming in the future as well. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. Hit that like button if you haven't already, and we'll see you in that next Marvel Snap video.